Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Mouses Makes Knitting podcast, which is coming to you from a very cold, wet, windy, rainy, horrible Somerset this morning that feels far more like January than May. Lucky I'm tucked up inside with my knitting. Got a few things to show you this morning, some things that haven't gone quite as I would like, catch up on some whips that you've not seen for a very long time, a gift I've been given, some new cast-ons, and before I do any of that and before I forget, I want to recommend a podcast that I've just found. I say I've found it, it was recommended to me, and I cannot remember the lady's name. I think it might be Karen. But the podcast is called Recreational Knitting. It's here on YouTube, and the lady and her husband are touring around America in their RV. And in the 8 episodes that she's recorded so far, they've been evacuated twice because of wildfires and once because of flooding. It's quite exciting. But along with her knitting, she shows you a bit about the places where she is, or while they're travelling. It's quite enjoyable. It's a nice sit down with a cup of tea and your knitting type podcast. Right, that done. The next thing I want to do is show you my present. Hang on a minute. Immediately I start talking. Hang on. Right, this is a present from a viewer who watches the podcast, who I've never met, though we have mutual people in mutual thing. Anyway, this lady's name is Linda, and she sent this for me last year sometime, September, October time, and I got it on Monday because our mutual acquaintance, friend or whatever, neglected to get it to me until then. So I would like you to meet the podcast's new mascots. Are you ready? Hang on, I'm getting myself ready. And them. First of all, may I introduce Madame Souris. Madame is a little bit shy of coming on the podcast because she feels she may have had a little bit too much cheese, much like myself, and has become a little plumper than she would like, again much like myself. But in order to distract everybody's attention, she is wearing a fabulous hat which she hopes will take people's attention away from her waistline. The hat was made for her by her best friend Suzette. Suzette is very, very sweet, and she has a beautiful bow on her back. I don't know which one's my favourite. I don't think you should have favourites really, should you? Anyway, these are the new Mouses Makes podcast mascots from Linda, who felted them herself. They have the most, excuse me, showing you up Suzette's dress. She's French, she won't mind. Little feetses. That's nothing against the French, you understand. It's purely that Suzette used to be a can-can dancer, so she's used to that sort of thing. So, Madame Souris and Suzette, all I have to do now is find a place for them to go where they won't be stolen by cats. I have a plan, but I'm not sure it's going to work. So you might see them again soon. They might be off-shopped somewhere. Depends where I can secure them from kitty interventions. Anyway, they're going to go back in their little box now, where I know that they're safe. Thank you very much, Linda. I love them, as you might be able to tell. On to knitting-y stuff. I don't know where to start, really. I might start with the things that haven't gone quite so well, and then hopefully by the time we get to the end you'll have forgotten about those. I've cast on a couple of new pairs of socks. This one I'm not going to continue with. I don't know if you can see the pattern there. Oh, you can quite well. The pattern is By the Shore by Nancy Wheeler. I wrote it down. I saw it on My Yarny Corner. Alex has just made a pair of socks with this pattern in a striped yarn, and I thought, oh, I really like that. So I cast them on with this yarn, which is Woolcraft Superwash Sock Yarn in shade 46. It's a 75-25 superwash wool and polyamide, which is basically nylon, isn't it? And I thought it was going to stripe, but it hasn't. What it has done, if I show you the back, is it's doing that kind of diagonal flashing, which is really pretty, but I don't think this pattern and this wool show each other off to their best advantage. I think you kind of lose the beauty of both. So I'm going to pull these back and probably just make a plain vanilla sock with this yarn, because that's an interesting and unusual thing for it to do, and cast the pattern back on with some self-striping yarn, which is, as I say, what Alex had done, and it looked really nice, which is why I wanted a pair. And I'm going to have another drink. Honestly, this drives me insane. I haven't been very well over the weekend. I had a really sore throat and I just felt rotten and slept most of the weekend. So I don't know whether it's my medication or whether I just picked up a bit of a something. How, I don't know, since I pretty much live in a bubble, but there you go. So that was the first thing that's not gone quite according to plan. The next thing is a bit more of a disaster. For the Mouses Makes Knit Along, which is knitting for Ukraine, I've been making the Sienna sweater by, and I'm sure I'm doing this lady's name an injustice, I think it's Natalie Pellick. I'm not sure that's quite right, but... And it's a beautiful, beautiful sweater. Let me get the pattern so I can show you what's gone horribly wrong. And it's entirely my fault. All right, that's quite good. Okay. Do you see here how you've got these sort of little tree shapes? And then underneath there's a zigzag, and then these little 6 holes. That's what I should have. I finished that part of the pattern, and I've deliberately worn black today so that you can hopefully see this. What I've got is not that. What I've got is the sort of tree shape, and then this weird kind of tick rather than a zigzag, and then where the 3 holes should be isn't quite right either. And that's very disappointing. I think I know what went wrong. The pattern has both charted and written instructions, and it has a separate chart for each size. And the first chart, the little tree shape, that's the same for every size. That went perfectly. I keep thinking I see something and it's just raindrops running down the window. When it came to doing the second chart, I followed the written instructions for the wrong size. And I don't know quite how it worked out, because I had stitch markers marking each pattern repeat. So there must have been the right number of stitches, but it's shifted the pattern, or the first half of the pattern. I don't know quite what it's done, but it's wrong. So I have three options basically. I can leave it and live with it. I'm not going to do that. I can put in option 2, put in a lifeline between the two lace repeats, which I think, this is very difficult to show you, I think I can just about manage between this one ending and this one starting. Put in a lifeline and pull it down to there. Option 3, start from scratch all over again. I think I'm going to try option 2, and if that doesn't work out, I'll move on to option 3. But if I can salvage this, I would like to, because obviously I've put in quite a few hours of work on this, as I'm knitting it with toothpicks and spider's web. The reason I didn't see it while I was knitting it was I've only just moved it onto this longer needle. To begin with, there weren't enough stitches, and so I was doing it on a 16-inch circular, and it was just all too bunched up for me to be able to see that it wasn't quite going to plan. So if I knit it again, and I expect I will, that's something to be aware of and make sure that I'm following the right instructions, not just the one that's closest to me. The yarn I'm knitting it in is, let me grab a ball, that's one thing I forgot to do. That's that on the floor then. It's this stuff. I'm not even going to try and say it again this week because I just made such a hash of it last week. Which is, oh, here she is, 75%, come on then, excuse me, we've just got to let clear Poppy's path, come on. 75% mohair, 5% wool and 20% polyamide or nylon. It's a lovely colour, and the colour's actually not coming out too badly today. It's a bit more of a bluey pink than it's coming out on my screen anyway. It might be coming out better on yours, I don't know. But yeah, so it's going to be a bit of a bear to pull down, I think, but never mind. You're watching raindrops. There's no birds, is there? They're all sleeping because it's raining. Yes. Yeah, so that's the main thing that's gone a bit horribly wrong, that I will try and sort before I see you next week. I think that's all my disasters though, to be honest. I've had an idea, I know, that generally ends up being a disaster, but this time it doesn't seem to have done. I had a hankering for a sock. I've got to be a bit careful with this because I've had to move it from where I had it because it was in Madam's way. I wanted a sock. We have had some warm weather, and I wanted a sock, a cosy sock to put on in the evening. You know when you've had a nice warm day and so you've had sandals on or whatever, and then in the evening your feet are chilly. And I had a hankering for a really thick, warm, cosy sock. I haven't got any DK sock yarn, so I thought I'd use up some scraps because I've got, let me take that out of there, many of these little scraps that are too small to go into my triangulum. And I didn't really know what to do with. I have got an idea for using up scraps that I may cast on at the next cast on party. So this was also a bit of a trial for that. What I've done is I've cast on a DK sock using fingering scraps doubled. and I'm actually really loving the way they come out. They are not going to be a matching pair, and I have prepared myself for that. I know that's going to happen because I wasn't going to faff around splitting the tiny little scraps into two so I could have a matching pair. And really that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted a pair of proper scrappy socks. I cast on, holding the yarn double, I cast on 56 stitches, and yes, I am using DPNs. I can use DPNs, I just don't like it. And I held them double and just did an ordinary cast on, German cast on, but not the special twisty one that gives you a bit of extra stretch that I normally use for socks. And it looks okay, I think. It doesn't look flary. Hang on, doesn't look like it's flared. There's plenty of stretch. And it doesn't look odd. It looks quite good. I might try that next time I cast on a pair of single fingering socks. Because I've never done that before. Oh, there's a little tail there. I've Russian joined the yarns together. As I come to the end of one, I've Russian joined the next one on because I didn't want to faff about with sewing in ends. So every now and again you get like a little, I don't know if you can see that, just a little, it's perfectly secure, so I'll just snip that off. It's just where the end of the Russian join has poked through. And I'm really loving the colours that come out. What else do I need to tell you? I did 1x1 rib, and then I carried that down just as a 1x1 broken rib, which has made them feel really squashy and cozy. I think I could have got away with less stitches, but they're meant to be kind of, they're not going to be worn in shoes, so it doesn't matter if there's a bit less negative eaves than I generally like my socks to have. I like them really to be quite tight on my feet, but these are kind of a slipper sock, I suppose. So I'm really pleased with those, and as I say, they are a practice, something that I might do later on in the year. I've got lots of scraps and lots of part balls of sock yarn, and what I thought I might do is knit a sweater with it, a scrappy sweater, but I haven't worked out all the planning yet, so I might cast that on at the next cast on party, which is the 25th of June, so I haven't got a huge amount of time to get quite a lot of stuff off the needles. And it's not helped much that I haven't done a great deal of knitting in the last few days because I've not felt great, so I need to crack on really, don't I? Right, let's put these away. I will just show you, I've been sitting here looking at it, my little stitch marker, my little bunny, that came, there was a set of 3, I think they were, from Joy to the Wool, who's on Instagram and Etsy, and I got quite a few stitch markers from her, including that set of 3 little rabbits. And this one, because it's black and white, this one reminds me of Rocket the cat. So that was going okay. That's an okay thing. The projects I was going to catch you up with, this one you haven't seen for ages, I don't think. This one I cast on at the first cast on party, which was back in February. And oh, I've dropped the ball. It's been pretty slow going. This is, and immediately I've forgotten the name of it, Anaahsha by Jennifer Steingast. Last time you saw it, I was there. I just finished the colour work. This is the back, so it's a bit, let me turn it around. I just finished the colour work, and I am slowly, and I do mean slowly, working my way down the body. It's on quite small needles, 3.75. Oh, they're not as small as I thought, but it just feels quite tedious going round and round and round now that all the excitement of the yoke has finished. I've got fluff all over myself now. I seem to have cursed myself with a lot of things that are on very small needles at the moment. There's 2 on 3.75s, 1 on 3.25s, and 1 on 2.75s. They grow very slowly when they're that small. I've got 1 on 4 mils and 1 on 5, I think. This only really gets worked on a Wednesday evening during Zoom, so it gets a couple of hours a week on it, which probably isn't helping the "this is taking so very, very long" element. I'm knitting it in, the main colour is Serdar Click, which I don't think they make anymore, and the contrast is, I'm pretty sure, some Stylecraft special 4-ply, just in cream. And I don't know if you can see now that there's a bit more, oh, you kind of can, the colours that are in the main yarn. It's not just a plain beige, there's kind of pinky and green tones in it. It's really rather pretty. I'm looking forward to having it done, because I think this is going to be, we like to go to the coast on days like this, rather than on nice sunny days when there's nobody much there, and you can just have a walk along the seafront and just get fresh air blown at you. Traditionally we have a walk on New Year's Day, which obviously we couldn't do for a couple of years. We did manage it this year, but I love the seaside in the autumn and the winter more than in the summer, when it's full of people and, you know. Yeah, so I think this is what that is what this is going to be used for. It's going to be, because it's quite warm, it's, I think, can't remember if it's 80% wool or 20% wool. Have a look at a ball band, woman. How innovative that they have put the information on the ball band. 30% wool. I do apologise if you heard swearing there. That was Ewan coming to see me and discovering that I was not alone. Yeah, 30% wool, 70% acrylic, and I don't think they make it anymore, but this is shade 0129. Can't wait to have it finished. Not so keen on actually working on it, because of course once I've done the body, then there's the sleeves, isn't there? But sleeves do go a bit more quickly, I think. So yeah, I really ought to, some of these whips that are left over from the first cast on party in February, I think I really ought to have a bit of a push on those and try and get them off the needles before the next one. This is not going to be off the needles before the next one. I'll be lucky if this is off the needles before next summer. Only the fact that the pattern was a gift and that I want the finished object so much keeps me slugging on with it. No, that's not fair. It is enjoyable to knit. It's quite a meditative knit, if that's not getting too airy-fairy. The pattern is Vellichor by Andrea Mowry. And this is what it looks like. And all of that is about 3 weeks work. I typically work on this on a Tuesday morning Zoom, so it gets 2-3 hours on it a week. Yeah. Slow going. It's a boxy, oversized top, and there are 400 stitches on my 3.25 needles. Each round takes a little while, but it's quite fun. I am enjoying knitting it. It's just really slow growing. Where you saw it last was that little lemon cake from Chapel View Crafts. The main colour, the grey, is linen drape, Stylecraft linen drape in pewter, which is 70% viscose, 30% linen. The cream is Drops Cotton Light, which is 50% cotton, 50% polyester, and this is colour 01. It's just cream, off-white really. And the blue, which there's only one row, or 2 rows of blue in each pattern repeat, that is Serdar Cotton 4 Ply in shade 515. And yes, I know I am mixing yarn weights and yarn constructions. I'm not that bothered. It'll get hand washed and dried flat, and if it grows, it grows. I think it'll be fine. So I'm looking forward to putting some more rows on it so I can see what this blue looks like once it's amongst everything else. It's got, one of the things that slows you down actually is it's got this really pretty twisted cable that goes up. Other than that, and I mean that's not hard to do, it just takes a little bit longer than quickly knitting the 2 stitches. Other than that, it's a really enjoyable knit, to be honest. I've got things on the needles that I enjoy knitting a lot, and things on the needles that I find are a bit of a chore, and that's why I have a rota, because otherwise I would just knit the things that I want to knit, and the things that are a bit of a chore I would ignore. This didn't get knit. It should have been knit yesterday. It didn't, because I wasn't on Zoom yesterday because I was otherwise engaged, which is a shame because that means I've got to wait till next Tuesday before I knit on it again, because if I let my rota go, everything goes to hell in a handbasket, which is a shame because I'd quite like to knit on this today. But today I've got to work on, wherever it's gone, the one I just showed you. That will be during Zoom tonight, and you saw it last week, the sort of autumn coloured striped sweater that I'm knitting. I love the colours. I'm not enjoying knitting it. I should have, because it's my own design, I should have made the stripes more than 6 rows, because you just seem to be changing colour all the time, and I find that is, apart from the fact that there's a million ends now to be woven in. I did start weaving them in as I went, but it was distorting the stitches a bit, so I've had to leave them, and I'll sew them in properly afterwards. Life is hard, isn't it? I know. The things we moan about. I'm just trying to find a needle stopper. I know I've got one there, I just can't actually locate it with my fingers because stuff is in the way. Well, that's everything for today. Pretty sure. I'll just give you a quick reminder about the knit along. It takes place on Instagram. The hashtag is knitting with Ukraine. In order to enter, all you have to do is be knitting, crocheting, cross stitching, whatever, something by a Ukrainian designer. It runs until the 31st of August. You don't have to finish whatever it is in order to enter. All you have to do to enter is share your progress as often as you like on Instagram using the hashtag knitting with Ukraine and tagging your designer in your post. That way I can check that it's a Ukrainian designer, and the designer will see that they've been tagged, because the whole point really of the knit along is to offer some moral support. And I think that's everything. It can be a free pattern. It can be a pattern that you have had for ages. Doesn't matter. You don't have to buy a pattern. If you do, brilliant. That gives them a little bit of financial support as well. But the main purpose is to provide a little bit of moral support. I think that really is everything. I am gathering together a few small prizes. I've got some yarn, some stitch markers. The stitch markers actually came from Ukraine, so I was quite excited when I remembered I'd got those tucked away for a prize. I'll probably make at least one project bag if I can unearth my sewing machine, which is at the moment hidden behind a mountain of project bags filled with stuff that I should have got off the needles. Yeah, so that is that. I'm thinking of the way I'm going to draw prizes, because obviously if we're not finishing items, it makes things a little difficult. So I'm thinking what I might do is draw a name out of one hat and draw a prize out the other hat, and just do it that way so that it's completely random. Haven't decided yet. Depends how many entrants and how many prizes. So we'll see. But that's all for the end of August, so I probably should start worrying a bit more about it now, but you don't need to. And I am actually going to go now, and I will see you all. Well, you'll see me. I do that every week, don't I? Some of you I'll see, because I'll see you on Zoom. But the ones of you that I won't see, I'll see you next week. Until then, happy knitting. Bye for now.